Good evening. This is Rusty with Vignettes, and tonight I have JP with me to talk about the Big Lebowski and Coen Brothers films. So this is going to be a fun one. Hi, JP. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for asking. So, is there any? So I came across you just to get this out of the way on the internet somewhere, you know, and and we kind of jived well and exchanged some things, and it was fun, different ideas and imagery, and just voice messages and you know talking about any number of things. And I was like, okay, I want to talk with this guy about movies. I'm not sure what movies he would want to talk about because I don't really know him that well, but I know that he's cool and I want to talk to him. So I'll just say, hey, what movies? And you said Star Wars and you said Lord of the Rings were movies that you felt were worthwhile to talk about. And I agree. And we hopefully down the road, we'll talk about, hopefully sooner than later, we'll talk about Star Wars. But we also agreed that we liked the Coen brothers, and and so this is how this started. And we're here talking about the Big Lebowski and anything else you want to talk about. And, it doesn't matter to me. But so, I guess I'll just ask you, like, what initially, before I go through like kind of the production stats type stuff, what do you think about the Coen brothers and Big Lebowski in general? Like, what are your initial thoughts or feelings about that?
I mean, as a comedy, it's like fantastic because it's not really, I would call a chronological story. It kind of picks up where his life is, where the main character, Lebowski's life is just a mess, and it picks up where it leaves off in almost every scene. And it was just like the constant change of direction coupled with the characters, and it always, of course, being centered around a bowling alley. And then I saw a couple other Coen Brothers movies, and there was always that central theme of something like something as symbolic as like a bowling alley to have a place where the characters congregate, and then you just had the liveliness. It all just come to life, and then you started piecing it together as the movie went on.
Yeah. I mean, I think I forget a little bit about how disoriented I was the first time I saw it because I saw it so long ago. Like, it's not an easy movie to follow, not really. Um,
No.
yeah, it's like the first scene is. I mean, you could like take out certain parts of it and just put it on like a YouTube clip or something, and you could have a completely different view of what the movie's about. Even like
Yeah.
uh, the plot is kind of fast and loose, right? Um, there's a plot there, but it's not really plot driven. I don't think
No.
you know. And like you said, it's like a bowl. There's like a bowl. All the memes that come out of it, or all the imagery before even people used memes. It was like this bowling fetishizing of it. Like you would, like DVDs would have covers with like weird. You'd have like Jesus, right? That whole
Yeah.
guy, that character, that Hispanic
Yeah.
dude. Yeah, that's really strange, dude. We'll talk about him later, and but yeah, it was like so. This movie came out in the late '90s, and it was the Coen brothers had done a number of films before it, so they were known um, in the business at that point. And I particularly like um, Jeff Bridges, so I think that Jeff Bridges did a great job. Like, I love him in the more recent movies, like the remake of True Grit and
Okay.
Crazy Heart is a movie where he's a country singer, like a
Okay.
washed up country singer. He's pretty good in that one. So if you haven't checked out Crazy Heart or the remake of True Grit, I suggest doing that if you like Jeff Bridges.
I do. He's an excellent actor. Like, and he played a good villain in Iron Man as Obadiah.
Oh
something
yeah.
like Obadiah Stone or something or other. It was kind of freaky to see his head shaved,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but I
True.
mean, he sold it. Like he made a good villain, and I was like, because the Marvel universe by this point has just gotten so soft, it's not even funny.
Oh
But
God, yeah.
I thought he
We
was
could
one
do
of
a
the better ones.
teardown episode about Marvel, but yeah, I try to keep it positive mostly on here.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, yeah, yeah, no doubt. So if all right, so like, let's say, like, if I mean, I saw the movie when basically a little after it came out, and um, I mean, more than a little bit after, but it wasn't like recently or any 10 years ago. Even it was a long time ago that I saw it first, and I think I was like in. I want to say I was early in college when I saw it, but I was like, I, um, at the time I was doing drugs and stuff like that, and like it, it's weird. Like the movie basically doesn't there is this stoner character, the dude, right?
hmm
He's the main character, but I don't really think of it as like a drug movie, if that makes sense.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like it's
yeah,
not like Dazed and Confused or a party movie like any number of movies that have come out in the past 20, 30 years about, a high school party or something, or
right.
or old school, right? Like the classic, it's funny, Vince Vaughn,
Yeah,
great,
yeah, it's a great movie.
so good. But this isn't really that type. It's not like a degenerate movie in that way.
Yeah,
Which can be fun and, in all seriousness, like regardless of whether or not you have anyway, I don't want to get too philosophical religious in this, but
I think I know what you mean though, because there's like a structure, but then there isn't a structure, and the fact that like John Goodman's character, he's the backbone. You know what? If I could remember his name in that movie, I would. But and he's like the backbone. He's the constant structure in that movie. I feel like he's the most structured character, where the dude is kind of chaos,
yeah.
and he brings chaos to the group. And Donnie is just, God rest his soul, in a Folgers can. But
Yeah,
but
John Goodman plays Walter
Walter, there
Sobchak
you
or
go.
something like that.
Sobchak, yes, Walter,
He
yes.
converts to Judaism. Remember at the end where he's
Yes.
like, "Dude, come on, you're not even Jewish." He's like,
Which-
I broke the Sabbath to help you out." He's like, like so ridiculous. It's like, oh my god, man. No,
he
that's
always
what
has a
sold me
gun.
on it. That's what
He
sold me on it.
always, yeah.
Is John Goodman's character. John Goodman is a great actor. He's
Oh,
funny. He's
oh.
just. Uh, I mean, how can you not like John Goodman? You know what I mean?
He puts his heart and soul into like almost everything he does too.
Yeah, and I liked Roseanne as like a kind of whatever. I don't know if you watched it, but back in the day as a kid, I would watch Roseanne, and it is what it is. It's just a sitcom about a working class family in Michigan. But it has pros and cons to it if you're like deconstructing it or trying to
It wasn't Michigan. It
poke
was a
hole.
suburb of Chicago.
Oh yeah. Oh okay. It wasn't. It was a suburb of Chicago.
It was.
Oh, okay. So I
Yep.
botched that one. Sorry, but
It's okay.
um. So like I just kind of, you know what I mean? Like I knew him from that, and there's been some movies obviously that he's been in any number of movies, but like I think I do remember like the first thing I like there was a clip of him going off about Vietnam that I just thought was hilarious from the
Oh
clip.
yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
that's like kind of what sold me on it, even though even that is not really what the movie's about, but it kind of is because it always circles back to Vietnam with this guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so good. And with a little research I did, I saw that his character, John Goodman's character in this as Walter is at least partially based on the director and writer John Milius. John Milius did he was a director writer, in the 70s and 80s with films like Red Dawn and Conan the Barbarian.
Okay.
And this guy,
Okay.
I know you're not like some cinephile weirdo like I am, but like this guy was like, he was like a big time not a big time director, but he was rubbing elbows with guys like George Lucas and Francis Coppola, the guy that did Godfather and
Hmm.
Apocalypse Now. And he was friends with these guys, these big time directors, and not Wrigley Scott, but um, what is who's the guy that was behind uh, fat Back to the Future and
Steven
eat.
Spielberg.
Yeah, Spielberg, exactly. So he was friends with Spielberg and George Lucas and Francis Coppola. They were all buddies. And anyway, John Milius, if you Google John Milius and John Goodman, there'll be like a picture, like a meme, and they look exactly alike at a certain age. And he's like this kind of abrasive, overtly like it seems like he's compensating, like for his manlyhood, like he's macho, right? And he's always like brandishing a firearm or something like that. Well, John Milius is like that. Like, I mean, it's exaggerated, but John Milius, like, if you're looking at an interview of this director, he would have like a killed, like, big game in his fucking, foyer or his parlor, some deer head and stuff like that. And he'd have like a saber on his table and a gun at the, on the nightstand or something. It's like just like think John Milius is like he reminds me of like Theodore Roosevelt as a
Okay.
director,
Sweet though.
Yeah, he's
Like
pretty awesome.
Theodore is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, well, he made Conan the Barbarian. I mean,
Yeah.
so it's like, yeah. Anyway, he's a pretty cool dude, as far as like Hollywood directors go,
Yeah.
it's kind of a cutthroat ruffian thievery, just awful. We since me and you both believe in God, it's kind of funny that we can look at this Hollywood stuff and get enjoyment from it because there's so much awfulness that comes from it,
Yeah.
But that aside, again, keeping it positive, like John Milius, this is not a show about John Milius, though I've made it into that for about 2 minutes now. But like, it's because John Goodman looks like him, dude, and his
Okay.
character looks like him. He really does. So some people listening might know what I'm talking about. Otherwise,
Well, the kid that they go after too, with the
yeah,
dad, with the father on the iron lung.
hmm
Um,
yeah,
what was the name of the book? And he's like, he wrote the bulk of the series, dude. Yeah, it was about Nam, dude.
yeah.
You know what it feels like to find a stranger in the Alps, Larry? Do you know what it feels like? That whole scene was incredible because then you had the neighbor run out
Yeah,
and he's like, "What are you doing to my Corvette? What are you doing to my Corvette?
yeah,
I just bought this."
yeah, man. Like, so yeah, to me, in a lot of ways, he steals the show.
He's a
But
strong character.
yeah, and apparently, so the movie was made in 1998, and it's about a 2 hour movie. I feel like if you're not in the mood for it, it can feel a little long. Like everybody says, like every movie's too long. I don't think the movie's too long. I just think that like a lot of things, it has to be kind of you have to be in the mood for it. You know what I mean? Like it's not like it's considered a it's considered a comedy, and it is a comedy, but it's like a crime comedy, Um, and the Coen
Yeah,
brothers are weird like that, It's like Fargo and Raising Arizona, the really early movie that they made with
yeah.
Nicolas Cage,
Nicolas Cage.
hmm
Yep.
which is funny for sure too. And so I basically the plot is, let me just get this over with real quick. If there's a plot, which there is, is is that this guy is called, okay, his name is like technically, it's like the early 90s in LA, and this guy is like a middle-aged bachelor dude, Jeffrey the Dude Lebowski. And he, he I mean, basically, I think it basically starts like this. He comes home and there's like two guys there,
Yeah.
and they knock him out. It's just like right away, pretty much within the first 10 minutes or something of the movie, I think. And come to find out, they're goons basically that are working for, I think they're working for a porn director. They're these weird guys, like a white guy that's like an idiot that has like, a ponytail, blonde hair, and it's like an Asian guy that's really buff. Which they get in an argument on the bowling alley about calling an Asian guy a Chinaman.
Oh,
yes.
Yes, it's not the proper nomenclature.
Yeah. And this is so funny because I think even in the climate today, like it's still, you could put that movie on TV and like, I mean, people are going to complain about anything, but if you, but it's like, but if you follow John Goodman's logic there, it's like, it's funny because he's being weird and everything like that. But like, he's like, you don't use Oriental,
Yeah. Yeah, he's being politically correct while cussing about it, but it's fine.
You know what I mean? Like, that's funny. Like, they think about like that in 1998. I mean, there was political correctness for sure in the late 90s for sure.
Yeah, it started to come on a little bit.
Yeah, and so it works in that sense. And it's funny because he's again like not someone that's politically correct. Not really. And he, the thing is like, there's just, it's so weird. I mean, bowling is a thing in this movie for sure. Like it's a big part of it. Did you ever grow up bowling or?
I suck at it.
Yeah. Like I suck at it too. Like I'm excited when I get like, a spare or a strike. I don't know anything else about it other than like, you roll the ball, I don't roll it with both hands at least, but other than that, like it was fun playing it, especially late in high school and like early 20s and stuff, just to have something kind of innocuous to do on the date.
Yeah.
But there's guys that are super into it, of course, bowling leagues and stuff like that. And in the movie, the dude, which I don't think I've said before, he really wants you to just call him the dude.
Yeah, he does.
And it's like, do you ever get the point where like, I feel like he would have been in like the timing of the movie and everything. It's like Goodman, all of them should have been in Vietnam, they were drafted in Vietnam, but I don't think they all were. I mean, Walter claims that he was in Vietnam, but I don't know if he was.
Yeah.
I kind of get that feeling like, who knows how much of his story is bullshit, probably a lot. So, I'm jumping around here, but basically the guy is in a bowling league. He's like, the dude is like, he's a stoner, he smokes, you see him smoking, roaches like all the time. He's walking around in slippers and a robe. Like I mean, basically in the internet world, I have, my character, if it is that, is like I have been memed into almost like
the dude.
Yeah, basically. And I'm not that much of a hippie. I'm really not. I mean, I swear, like people think because my voice, I mean, I get, I don't want to disclose really where I'm from. I hope people have no idea, but they're surprised and they're like, you're not from, the West Coast. You're not they think I'm like a surfer burnout or something,
yeah.
skateboarder.
I know what you mean. Yeah. Like, oh, bro.
Yeah. It's like, I'm not that bad,
Man, did you see that? Whoa. What's the other perfect character? Keanu Reeves and that blonde-haired guy in
Point Break.
Bill and Ted.
Bill and Ted. Yeah, Bill and Ted. Yeah.
Point Break. That's a classic.
Yeah, Point Break. It's fucking awesome. Yeah, man, it's like I don't know, man. It's just funny because like I don't know, I'm not edgelord enough, but
I feel like the 90s stereotypes were like the precursor to the 2000 movies, and then the 2000 movies just didn't cut it for stereotypes. Like all the stereotypes just dropped off.
Yeah,
like
there's point.
There's none of that anymore. There's none of that. Like you don't have the token stoner guy.
Yeah.
You don't have like the token
goth guy or some like
token goth, or you don't like there's none of that. There's
jock.
None of that.
Exactly. I'm glad you brought that up because you know what movie does a perfect kind of rendition of this, exactly what you're talking about, is the remake of 21 Jump Street, which
Okay.
it's Channing Tatum is like is he's going with whatever, like I can't remember the other guy, but they're cops and they go back to high school to be
Jonah Hill.
to be undercover, and Channing Tatum is thinking that he's going to be cool because he was like a jock, and like thinking that he has this line where he goes like, there's a thing where you would wear your backpack on one shoulder, like one strap it. You're not one strapping it. Why is everybody double strapping it? And this is true, man. Somewhere along the lines, like in like say 2010 ish, like kids, it started being okay to be a nerd, to be smart, to that's a whole other tangent. Don't get me started. Like about like how any type of like they're like the jock, and I kind of like those 80s stereotypes because you see it big time in the 80s movies like Pretty in Pink and 16 Candles and Breakfast Club and all that stuff. Like where there's like the bad guy, the bad boy, whatever he is. He might be like a gearhead, like mechanic fucking with his car type guy, or he might be whatever. And there's the jocks, and there's real class division, like the preppy people have money and the other people don't. Yeah, you kind of don't. All that stuff kind of goes by the wayside. It seems like the past 10 years in a lot of movies, it's just all kind of, and it's probably because, I mean, I would guess it's because of the nature of how people get media and the internet. Like you can, if you think about it, like what's a popular, like pop culture and pop songs and stuff, or anybody can get in. Younger people might be listening to stuff that's from the 90s or early 2000s or whatever, and into their all like a blending of all the subgenres, music.
Yeah.
And so music kind of plays a big part of your life. At least it did mine when I was a teenager, and it's like you identify with, what are you gonna do to make yourself different? You're going to dress a certain way, and you're going to listen to a certain type of music. And now it's kind of just like, we're so cosmopolitan, for lack of a better word, and that, there's like a fragmentation of any number of clicks. I think, it's not as played up as much.
Yeah, there's such a wide breadth, and the thing of it is like, I feel in a lot of ways, I'll admit I'm kind of a music snob. I can be, but I feel like a lot of it recently it all just sucks. There's no like life to it. There's no Kurt Cobain. There's no Chris Cornell. There's nobody that like stands out among me that I'm like, oh, they're gonna be awesome. They're gonna be the next, huge rock star.
It's like you have country music doing rap music now. It's like,
which is kind of cool, but
yeah, I mean, it's like there's a blending and a kind of synthesis that people are trying to do. Like it used to be like in the early 2000s, it was like rap rock or something like Kid Rock.
Oh, like Linkin Park, Kid Rock, or Limp Bizkit.
Yeah, dude. It's like,
which is awesome.
Can you imagine that? Like,
talk about an archetype, Fred Durst.
Yeah, that was basically more like what I was like, unfortunately. Full disclosure.
He was just so like the guy you would just picture just being 90s.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Fred Durst.
Yep. Yeah, sure was. And so, so we have this guy, we have the dude, he's basically a boomer. I mean, that's what he is. And, so he's living his life, like, in his apartment, and he, yes, he smokes weed. He's kind of like, you could see like he probably was like a typical hippie in the early 70s and whatnot. But it's the early 90s now. And so he's like, middle-aged roughly. And he gets caught up in this kind of crazy adventure And that's why it works, because it's, one thing after another happens to him. Um, and it's like he's trying to figure, he's just at the beginning and throughout the whole movie, he's just trying to really get his rug back. So he gets his rug stolen.
That's also another central piece of it.
Yeah. Well, he's like, he remembers before he passes out, like they piss on his rug,
Mm-hmm.
I think. And they're like yelling at him or whatever. And the guy like pees on the rug, and then, I think he passes out. I think there's like two scenes in the movie where there are these weird, prolonged sequences where he gets knocked out and he's like dreaming, and
Mm-hmm.
it cuts to like a music type of thing, which is kind of funny. I think especially I'm thinking of the one more towards the end. And I might play the song at the end if I can throw
I
it on there.
just checked what condition my condition was in.
Yeah, that one. Yeah. And
Another full disclosure, especially with the music. I mean, I love classic rock, and that is from a local Detroit rock band.
all right.
Or, oh, you know what? If I could think of the name, I would think of it.
Yeah, well, if you can look it up, you can look it up. And I'll just say that, like, in the like, so there's a comment about music too. At some point, he's again later in the movie. Towards the end, he's in a cab, and there's like a black cab driver driving around, and he's listening to the Eagles, and he's like, "Oh man, come on, man, anything but the Eagles," And the guy makes him get out of the cab because he's talking shit about the Eagles.
I've had a long night, man.
Yeah.
And hate the Eagles.
And it's like, the other funny thing with music is like the dude is always not only smoking joints, like he does things that I do, like he takes baths and he lights candles and stuff. He listens to tapes. He has like the Walkman where he's like just listen. Isn't there a scene where he's just listening to like bowling pins crash, like
Yeah,
getting.
yeah.
And then there's other scenes where he's talking to, I don't even remember exactly. I think he's talking to a cop after, he gets brought in, and he has like his Walkman on and he's listening to, I think, I'm not even sure what it was, but it's some like kind of like what you would think he would be listening to, like a 70s band of some sort. And he, I mean, I guess the next thing we could talk about is I'm looking at the kind of character cast, and you mentioned him a little bit. The guy, Steve Buscemi is in a number of their movies, the Coen brothers,
Mm-hmm.
and Donnie. And the way that Goodman just bullies Donnie the whole time, it's like, shut the fuck up, Donnie.
All the time, you're out of your element.
Yeah,
and just constant.
it's just
Constant.
ruthless. Like
He doesn't
he's not
even
even
say anything.
yeah. And so like I think a lot of people can relate to that. Like, I mean, it's it's overdone a little bit. Not overdone, but it's dramatic.
Oh yeah.
But it's like you'll have somebody in your group, and there's always this kind of pecking order going on. And especially younger guys, it's kind of weird to see middle-aged men do it to each other. It's kind of awful. I guess it definitely happens to one degree or the other. And then you have, Philip Seymour Hoffman's in it as like the assistant to,
the real Jeffrey Lebowski.
Yeah, which he does a great job as being like this kind of nerdy, squirrely like assistant character
Mm-hmm.
to Lebowski. And Lebowski, that's the confusion, is that these guys rob Lebowski and like shake him down, and they think that these dumbasses think that he's this really super rich character that's also named Jeffrey Lebowski, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was one of the other parts too, where his the rich Jeffrey Lebowski had his the typical probably hot blonde that
Yeah.
got married for money,
Yeah.
played by Tara Reid,
Yeah.
and she was what was her name?
Bunny. Yeah.
Bunny, and then they were like, oh, where is she? They want ransom. She cut off her toe and sent it to him, and that was part of it, where like
Yeah.
that's why they were trying to track down Lebowski, I guess,
Yeah.
for the ransom, and he got kind of like mixed up with that. And then yeah, like you said, Philip Seymour Hoffman's character was just typical squirrely, like just so like, where's my money? We're gonna do something about it, Lebowski, if and the old guy is also another veteran actor. I
Yeah.
can't think of his, but he's been in a lot of flicks too.
Yeah.
Um,
David Huddleston. Yeah, he plays a good kind of hard ass,
yeah,
CEO type, and he's wheelchair bound, and there's this kind of the classism in a way here with when he's like, he knows that the dude is a hippie basically, and he makes some type of comment about like, like how the hippies are fucking scumbags basically, and like you just pick your stuff up by your bootstraps and like work for a living. Do you have a
yeah,
job, something like that? Like do you even
yeah.
work?
Oh, he's even like he's a hard ass with money off of John Goodman's character. Like he's like with John Goodman's character if John Goodman had money.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Well,
true.
if Walter had money,
Yeah,
like that's kind of
yeah,
his
exactly.
shtick.
And there's that funny scene where he's showing him Seymour Hoffman character, his assistant, the Big Lebowski, David Huddleston's rich CEO guy has, of course, like nonprofits and charities that he runs with. He's like, these are all the little Lebowskis,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
and 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 it's like another thing that goes with like the kind of chronic marijuana smoking is the dude drinks White Russians. He drinks
amazing.
yeah,
He's always, hey Jackie, give me a Caucasian.
yeah,
And then one of the other scenes, one of my favorite ones was he was he was getting pulled out of the limousine and he goes, "Hey man, there's a beverage here,
yeah,
man."
yeah, exactly.
And he's smelling it all over.
And he usually like licks it off his beard. He like just has it ridiculously like on his freaking mustache and beard, and it's like he doesn't care. I mean, he's walking around in a robe usually and slippers. It's great.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, it's like I mean, it's like we can. I don't know. It's like I kind of respect people that are like that, that are just like fuck it. It's if you're gonna go hippie, go all the way. Like
Yeah,
he's a true believer. Like
yeah,
in that sense, it's like he's not like doing it for these kind of bohemian, more yuppie type of girls that go to like Jack Johnson concerts and stuff like that.
oh yeah,
I
yeah.
think you've seen these types. Uh, he's basically a full blown boomer hippie. And in the so you have like this interplay of him of the dude trying to basically get his rug back, and along the way he there's different ways for him to get more money than that, and it's just this intricate kind of system where I think I guess it's um the Big Lebowski's daughter that's like the weird artist woman.
Oh yeah, yep.
It's really strange. Like,
Played by Julie Ann Moore.
yeah, and she does a good job there, I think. She's just like this, avant-garde, doing all types of strange paintings and everything. And there's like that really Weasley dude that like just laughs all like it's just really strange. I'm probably not going to be able to find his name because he's not one of the main characters, but he's always sitting in the background whenever the dude's talking to, um, Julianne Moore. Lebowski is her name in the movie.
Maud
Yeah,
Lebowski. Yes.
and like she's doing just weird artwork and stuff like that, and and his wife, like you said, was Tara Reid, Bunny. And Tara Reid was always playing like in the late 90s, early 2000s, like some like slutty girl, basically. And she
Oh
can
yeah.
true to form. She's that in this one too. And there's a scene by the pool, like when he's leaving, she's like, if you give me $1,000, I'll suck your dick. It's like,
yeah,
God.
yeah.
It's like very crude stuff, like thrown in there, but it doesn't beat you over the head with it. At least it's not really that bad for what's out there today. It's not overly sexualized. It's really not what it's about.
No.
And then so he, Lebowski, the dude is basically just caught in this whirlwind of just craziness, and the whole time there's like that another section going on with those guys that are in that band, and they always refer to them as nihilist.
Oh, Nagelbett is the name of the band. It means nail bed in German.
And they're like really strange guys. Like Flea is one of them, the guy that was in
bass player for Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah. I think they were Red Hot, the main singer and him were in Point Break, which is funny.
Anthony Kiedis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, they have a little cameo. They're like the bad boy surfers that get in a fight with Keanu Reeves in that movie early on, and Val Kilmer, not Val Kilmer, but Patrick Swayze breaks up the fight in that movie between them. Keanu Reeves.
Okay.
It was a little aside. But yeah, every once in a while in like the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, you'll see like Red Hot Chili Peppers, Flea, or the other guy be in movies here and there. And that band is so weird. The guys are so weird. It's like they're dressed up in like, because they're also, it's like apparently they were, a one-hit wonder band of some sort,
Yeah.
and they dress in like, but then they get involved in the porn industry, I guess. Like they look like they're in dominatrix outfits, like skin tight leather.
Yeah, S&M stuff, and they're like, but it's not quite. But that's the weird part. It's not like quite S&M. It's not like quite like gay leather, I guess, and it's not like Judas Priest. It's like kind of in between.
Yeah.
But then they're not like, and they're not like edgy enough for like being, I guess, Marilyn Manson types. They're just more like just run of the mill, just goth. Weirdos.
They're just straight weirdos. Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, and they're foreign, so it makes them even weirder to everybody, basically, which is funny because they're like that weird German, subset. And
oh yeah. Where's the money, Lebowski? Where's the money?
And with what is that, like a ferret? Is that what it is? Like
he's got a ferret on a leash. Like you walk a freaking dog. He's got a freaking ferret on a leash, and he goes, "What the fuck is that?"
He drops him. He drops him in. Yeah, he's taking a bath. He's taking a bath, and it's like, dude, he drops it into the bath and squirming around, and it's like, it's like you would be worried about your balls there too. I mean. It's just freaking feral weasel like squirming around in your bathtub when you're in there.
Yeah. It was just insane. And then it's so funny to me too, because the whole nihilism thing, it's just so funny to me because it's like one of the first movies I've ever even heard that from. I had no idea what even that whole thing meant.
Yeah, me neither.
And then and I'm just like, oh, so it's definitely has something to do with metal for sure. It's like, it's definitely a metal concept because these guys are just like straight off this. They were like the precursor to Rammstein. They were like the Rammstein in a movie before like Rammstein got like big.
Yeah.
And the thing is that it's like in every scene they're like, what are they? I don't know, dude. Nihilists, dude. Yeah, what are they? I don't know, dude. They're fucking nihilists, dude. Like, it's like, that was just like always, they always came in and I'm like, okay, what is a nihilist? Like, what the hell do they mean by this? And I looked it up and I'm like, okay, it makes sense now. Like the entire thing makes sense.
And the funny thing is like at first they appear scarier than they really are. Come to find out, it's like they're not really that based or
Well,
that.
they all look nerdy dudes
Mhm.
too, which is even funnier.
Yeah, they're just wimps, really. And then like another thing that we haven't mentioned is that the narration. There's a little bit of narration here and there by Sam Elliott. He looks like a cowboy, and he is a cowboy, and
Classic.
cast is like the stranger.
Classic.
he just looks like straight out of a western or something. He's a really good actor too, and for the stuff that he does. And he's basically giving you a little rundown of what the dude is, and there's a little cameo at the end at the bar, which is funny. Like the bar for folks that, I mean, I'm sure most people that are listening to this have been bowling, but there's usually a bar at the at the bowling alley of some
Yes.
sort.
Yeah. There
And
has to be.
yeah, and there's this is before like strobe light bowling and midnight bowling and all that, like whatever you call it, where they'll play like techno or something like house music and make it into like a party or something now, that like get people in there. But he there's a scene where he's at the bar and he's just basically talking to the dude, and I wonder, it's like, I guess, like, was it your impression that they knew each other, or was that just a first encounter? I mean, I guess they did, because of his narration. He talks about him in the beginning, about who he is, who the dude is, and then at the end, do you think that scene in the bar was the first time they met each other, or do you think they had seen each other around, I guess, at the bowling alley?
This has been a point of, like, I guess because it's such a cult classic, this has been one of those things where people go back and forth, the fan fiction on this.
Yeah.
To me, that's the first time they met.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's what I kind of initially thought. Like, I'm just overthinking it. Once you watch it more than like twice, you're like kind of thinking about, what. I mean, and I haven't watched it, like, I don't know, like some people, it's like you said, it's a cult classic. I mean, I've definitely watched it probably, I don't know, this was today I watched it. It was probably like the fourth or fifth time I watched it. And, yeah, I mean, I was thinking about how it's just like, if he did have that conversation with him without knowing him, that's funny, because he says, like, there's a line in there basically where he's like, they're like jiving pretty well with each other essentially. And he goes, Sam Elliott goes, do you have to cuss so much? Do you have to curse so much or whatever? And because that's another weird thing about Jeff Bridges' character, the dude, he does drop F-bombs quite a bit, which is fun. A hippie.
Yeah. Yeah, very high strung for a hippie.
Yeah. Well, it's like, yeah, I feel like he probably, maybe he wasn't so like amped up until this point when all this shit happens to him, but he does kind of still seem like, even if that wasn't like, even if he had more of a laid back way about him, he was high strung about certain things. And I mean, well, it's like, how do you befriend someone like Walter, and
It's just high strung all the time.
Mhm.
It's just on a 10
Yeah.
all the time.
And it's like that scene where he's in his apartment and he answers the door and the guy comes by. It's like the tenant for the apartments or whatever, and he's like telling him that it's that time, it's the 10th, so he's behind on his rent, and but he initiates the conversation by saying, like, I'm gonna play at such and such, or I really wanted to see if you would be there, and the dude's like, for sure, and he's like, well, it's the 10th, and he's like, can you slip the rent under the door? He's like, oh, because I wonder, like, what did the dude, like, they ask him in certain points, like, what do you do? And he's like, well, what do you do, man? Like, for a living. I forgot who asked him that, but like, it's like, we don't really know. I don't know how the dude exists. I don't think he sells drugs. I don't think he does anything really. Really, I don't know.
Yeah, he just kind of exists.
Mm-hmm.
He's just there.
So, yeah, man. And then I don't know, like, is there another scene that you want to talk about that comes to mind? Um, I got we can get into the Jesus Quintana, played
Oh
by
man,
John Tortoro. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. He's another guy that's in a lot of Coen brother movies.
is he?
Yeah,
Oh, he play and he yeah, he's always either like a cop or a lawyer too.
yeah, yeah. He was in the HBO movie that's pretty good called Of the Night or In the Night or something that came out a few years ago, where this guy it's like a mini series, so it's good in that, like, once you're done with it, you're done with it. It's not going to be a continuation, but it's essentially like he plays a lawyer, like you said. Like, he often plays a lawyer. He's like this Jewish lawyer that is in New York, and his client, or a guy that becomes his client, is being prosecuted for murder.
Oh wow,
It's a
okay.
pretty serious show, and he plays like a super strange lawyer that, of course, that has like eczema, like really bad eczema. He has to like lather he has to like walk around with like Vaseline on his feet and like little footies, so he like doesn't scratch his feet to death, apparently.
Ugh.
Weird little aside in that story. Yeah, and in this movie, the guy. I mean, this has become. I think wasn't there a movie about this guy Jesus, or some type of fan?
There was supposed to be there
Mm,
was supposed to be miniseries. There was supposed to be something coming out to like or a spin-off.
yeah,
Like you know how Breaking Bad had like Better Call Saul?
yeah,
It was supposed to be that kind of thing.
hmm
And to have Dude and Walter make cameos in it,
oh,
and just kind of like play off of his
yeah,
character,
yeah,
but then his character was just so off the wall strange as well.
hmm
It was so and then the rose in the bowling ball
yeah.
reminds me of the other rose in the bowling ball with Big Earn and Kingpin,
Okay, yeah,
because that was definitely one of those things where I know they're both bowling movies, but probably part of the reason why I thought of bowling right off the bat was Big Earn's character, played by Bill Murray in Kingpin, was kind of like a mixture of the Dude and Walter. Wouldn't say so much Donnie, but he was kind of like that. And then the Amish guy, played by Dennis Quaid, was Donnie, because he was like the naive, like, oh my god, I don't know what I'm doing kind of thing, and he was just so good at it that it just took him no effort. And here he is, kind of naively going along with Donnie, and Donnie kind of going naively along with the guys, and then Donnie dies of a heart attack in the parking lot of the bowling alley, and they're so like, you could tell they're so sad about it in that movie, but then at the same time, like that the dark humor is coming. Something's gonna happen, and they end up like throwing his ashes out, and back at him, and there goes the Dude. Man, Walter can do anything right. Come on, man. Like, this was Johnny. He was our friend, man. Like, you can't even do that right. God damn it, Walter. It's just cussing at him the whole time, and
yeah.
it's like
They
it's
had
like
a
they're trying to.
scene like where they were at the funeral parlor, where they were like trying to get.
Oh,
Yeah, they were
yes,
like,
the
it was
urn.
like, yeah, an urn. It was going to cost minimally $180, and like they couldn't swing it. So, like, he has it in a coffee can, like in a Folgers coffee can or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Oh,
it it's yeah. I mean, and the guy Jesus, dude, he's so um like effeminate. He's like
yeah.
wearing like a purple outfit, tights or something, like just this really,
Prince.
yeah, Prince. He has like rings, and he has one of his fingernails is long, and he has like different, I think he even has his fingernails painted, which is also a thing where the dude is like shellacking his nails during one of the games where he's clear coat painting his nails too. I don't know, that was weird, but but anyway, Jesus is like, that's the thing about it's just how can Hispanic people name their kids Jesus? It's so weird. Like
Jesus.
it's like there's another name I forgot that shows you like how they just kind of don't give a shit. Like and but this guy, I don't know. Do they say if he's Puerto Rican or Dominican or anything? Like they don't really say. But they do say that he was a pedophile and he had to
Mm-hmm.
go around the neighborhood and tell everybody that he was
Mm-hmm.
convicted of pedophilia.
Yeah.
So like the Coen brothers are doing a lot of things in this movie. It's kind of funny. I mean, like subtly and not so subtly in a lot of ways.
No, that one wasn't too subtle. And that's why I was like, why would they make a spin-off show about that guy?
Yeah, because he became like such an icon for this freaking movie. I mean, it's like the characters in this movie are just like they're just very unique. And a lot of the characters in the Coen movies are, to give them credit, they stand out a lot in my eyes. But and Jesus is like, also while he's being super effeminate and prancing around and stuff, he's very vulgar and aggressive about how he's going to fuck them. Like
Yes.
because John Goodman's character Walter, like at one point, the earlier on, the team that they're playing against, like the guy crosses the line and he's like foul, he's like, there's rules. This isn't Nam, that
Yeah.
and he gets his gun out.
Gun.
Like, and in the aftermath of that, like the dude is sitting in his like living room or whatever, and he's getting messages from the league talking about like, I just wanted you to know that, you basically that match, has forfeited because of Walter's shenanigans, with the gun. And that's what Jesus mentions later on is like, if you try that shit with me, he's like, I'm gonna, I'll, I don't even know what he said. Like, I'll like, I don't know. It's like, I'll use the gun against you and just empty it out on you until it goes click.
Oh, I pulled the trigger until it goes a click.
So, and by the time that the dude and Walter are trying to figure out exactly, where this money is and what's going on, who's kidnapping who, and all that stuff. Like he's basically, they're going. Walter's basically convinced that he knows who did it, and it's a kid, that stole the money out of dude's car, because before that they went to the drop. They were going to exchange the money that Big Lebowski gave them in a suitcase. And Walter was like, we're going to just do a decoy bag and throw it over the bridge. And he like, that's the thing. Like, part of the ridiculousness of it is because, again, John Milius, the director I was talking about earlier, is just this kind of cartoonish, over the top, masculine, or portrays himself as this, very burly man type guy, rough around the edges. And that's what John Goodman's doing here. And he has like an Uzi in the back seat, apparently. And it goes, so his elaborate plan at the last minute is kind of, well, it's actually not elaborate. That's the whole point. It's like, it's a very simple plan. We are going to throw the money. We're going to keep the money and throw the decoy bag over the bridge or whatnot. And he doesn't take anybody seriously. And, he thinks people are full of shit. And so they'll be able to get away with it. But they get a call. And that's another thing that's funny about the movies nowadays. Like, a lot of the movie, they'll, they'll be kind of ambiguous about what time period it is. But in the
Hmm.
movie, they say it's in the early '90s, and it's during the first Gulf War, and George H. Bush, George Sr. is president, and you have the whole Persian Gulf War first thing going on, and he's like, you know, uh, uh, Goodman's character is going to basically, um, he's he's going to be able to somehow they're going to be able to keep the money and get away with uh, figuring out where this person's at this because Bunny's been kidnapped allegedly, and it's like, yeah, in his plan, they gets called. They have a like a car phone, like a one of those old school, not car phones,
Yeah.
but like it's in a box. I mean, it looks like a block, because it's like supposed to
Yeah.
be 91, and he gets a call, and it's like the guys tell him, of course, to like that there's not going to be a meetup or whatever. You're going to throw the money over the bridge, and so then Walter's like, okay, well, we'll just throw the decoy bag over the bridge, and the dude doesn't want to do it. I mean, he's like, no, don't do it. And they get in this scuffle almost, and they're driving, and everything goes to shit because they're being spastic, and um, it's like the Uzi gets thrown out of the car. John Goodman rolls out of the car like for no reason really. He like gets out of the car, tries to do a roll, and the car ends up rolling off and hitting the side of a rail or something, and messes up the car and everything. And the Uzi goes spinning out of control and just starts firing everything and hits the tire. And that's what causes the car to crash. So, I mean, then that leads to a whole other, uh, endeavor by the dude to try to get back his car. Um, and that's just kind of illustrative of just the ridiculousness of the whole story. But at the end, he's convinced that because when they go and get the car, right? The cop gives them a hard time about it. Like, yeah, your car's an impound or whatever, but and get it for you. And it's like messed up worse than it was, and it stinks. It was probably like a vagrant was in it, apparently.
Yeah.
And that's when they found a piece like of homework paper that was like correct, like had red marker on it.
Oh yeah, and that traced it back to Larry Sellers.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I don't even know who is Larry Sellers. Was he a real person? I mean, in the story, was he just like an athlete or something? Like, what was the deal with that?
He was based off of no, I mean he wasn't based off of anything. He was the kid's homework that they found. They found it in the car, um, and they traced it back to Larry, and then they found out where he lived, and that's where the whole greatness of TV censorship comes into play, and that then they find out his dad is on the Iron Lung, and Larry's going to get a good inheritance from his dad being a producer. So this is Larry Sellers Jr. that they found the homework
Yeah, the kid's
from,
like
and
probably like what, 13, 12, some.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
he's not. Yeah, he doesn't even know what the hell's going on, and they, they walk in and basically they find out, or well, Walter's got a hard on now because he finds out Larry Sellers Sr. wrote some kind of something based off of which World War, or I mean more than likely it's probably not, but it might be World War II. And he's like, yeah, dude, Larry Sellers Sr. He wrote the bulk of the series, dude. You don't know who this is? Oh, dude, let me tell you who this is. And then they go over there, they come to find out that Senior's on the Iron Lung, and then Larry Sellers Jr. is just, I guess he's a dumbass. And they need to find out like how he got involved with this, and using his dad's money early to, like, I don't know, to
Yeah.
thwart the whole plan.
He's like, he has to have at
And
least 930,000 left. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Like,
There's something like that. And the whole time that leads to the whole misadventure of him of Walter screwing up his the neighbor's car, and then the neighbor gets pissed, and then they got to leave because they just screwed up the wrong car.
yeah. And so somehow the dude's car is still able to, like, crawl out of that neighborhood, and his collar's like completely torn to shit because the guy went ballistic on it, because Walter went ballistic on this, sports car outside that was the wrong car that had nothing to do with, that family's house or whatsoever. He just started taking a crowbar into it and going ballistic. And I mean, yeah, that those type of scenes, it's like that's what, yeah, the hilariousness of Walter's character, and the just ridiculousness of it. Um, and of course, the dude is pissed off about how things went, and on the phone again, Walter calls him afterwards and is like, he's just tired of his bullshit. And, the dude's just like, I just like, I'm over it. I don't need your help anymore. Like, just get out of here. Uh, and and Walter's like, well, are you going to be at practice? He's like, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That leads to that. It's kind of like that was kind of like the I guess the peak of the movie, because that right there that stopped a lot of the chaos. Like it kind of led to that point where they just got so caught up in the whole trying to figure out who's who, and their trail of breadcrumbs finally ran out with them. Basically, I mean, just just leading more chaos upon other people, and they just kind of realized, okay, well, Bunny is obviously trying to get or trying to extort money from her
Sugar daddy.
elderly husband, yeah, her sugar daddy, and then then we ran into this kid who can't who can't form a sentence, let alone figure out how he's trying to screw somebody out of money, like Lebowski. And then the other part is too is like when you said that whole thing with the rug,
Yeah.
it's funny because like those two guys um that show up at the beginning of the movie, well, those two guys were linked to Jackie Treehorn.
Yeah.
And Jackie Treehorn's another part of the movie that he's the guy behind the scenes making it all go down, making it all kind of happen. He's the guy that winds up screwing over the Lebowski with the money.
Yes, exactly. So, so when we find out this whole, like, spider web of backstabbing and sabotage and all that goes into it at the end of the movie, basically, you know, uh, they're all playing at the bowling alley. Donnie and Walter and the dude. They're kind of you know, doing their normal thing, and those crazy band members come there, uh, the nihilist, and they had the confrontation in the parking lot, which is also hilarious because the nihilists have like they have like some type of weapons and stuff. Like I think one of them does have a gun, and Walter, to his credit, is just like, they're full of shit. They're not going to do anything, they get
Yeah.
into a scuffle, and it's kind of an awkward, like the dude doesn't know how to fight. Walter is at least being fairly competent at like handling the confrontation, it seemingly, and I think there is a gunshot going off, and they think that after they basically beat the three band members up, they they see Donnie curled up on the concrete, and they think that he must have been shot, but he hasn't been, and he's like, no, man, it's just, Walter's like, it's a heart attack, he's having a heart attack. It's like, God. And that's how Donnie dies. And that's when they go through the whole scene with them trying to get his urine and everything like that we talked about already. But in what do you, I mean? So in the very end of it, I mean, what do you think that the? I mean, I guess, does the movie have a theme or a message to it? Really, do you think, or if so, what do you think it is?
Oof, a theme. Ugh, don't wind up like the dude.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of like this guy that kind of just wants to like hang back and take it easy and do his thing. Um, gets caught up in all this stuff for a rug. And I don't know. It's like the Coen brothers are strange like that, and a lot of times, like in No Country for Old Men and in Fargo, even they'll play with kind of they a lot of their movies have this. It's like all these things happen, and some of them are random events. They play with like chaos and just the kind of randomness of life. That, no matter if you're trying to be thoughtful or planning or organized about things, all this stuff kind of happens to you either way, even if you're trying to be good about it or you're trying to be devious about it. At the end, basically, your plans go to shit, essentially, and life smacks you in the face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's like, I feel like the dude probably at the end of things. I mean, does he? I can't even remember. I mean, does he even get any? Does he get a rug back? Does he get money at all? I don't like because it's like he, because the Big Lebowski didn't. It was like he never was going to try to buy his bunny back, basically, right? So
yeah, he was trying to get her back because she was kidnapped.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing is like they were counting on the nihilists to do the dirty work. They were counting on them to run the transaction and get her back and try to get her to get going. But then it was not only them all running into the dude and his gang, but Jackie Treehorn's gang was kind of sitting back and waiting for it to all go down. And then, like that other scene, the dude wakes up in Jackie Treehorn's, like, I guess, party.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And he's like, how the hell did I get here? And it's just like, it was like, oh, you're the guy from the portal. Like, he remembers. Let me guess, he fixes the cable. That was a great line. God, that was a great line. But but it's like how did this get involved? And then you find out like Jackie Treehorn got screwed out of money by the
Bunny.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah. So he's like he's the one that really wanted some money back, but he doesn't get anything really, right?
No.
It's like, and he drugged the dude. Like the dude passes out while he's drinking his White Russian, and yeah, and that's when they have one of those longer scenes with the music sequence and all that, and the dream or whatever you want to call it being knocked out, which is pretty funny. And I mean, to me, like I don't know, like I think that the Big Lebowski is definitely worth checking out if you haven't do so by now. You kind of, I don't really say spoiler alerts for movies that are, this old or whatever, but then again, who knows? People watch things at different times. But I mean, as far as the Coen brothers concerned, is there like, did you like Fargo? I know you said you liked Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Or is there any other Coen brother movie that you thought was particularly good? Or
I bet you I'm still one of the only people that hasn't seen Fargo.
Okay. Yeah. Have you seen No Country for Old Men?
Ah, loved it.
Yeah. I mean, to me, like, No Country for Old Men is I wrote a review for it before a while back, and it, this is a movie that is, I mean, that's the thing about the Coen brothers is like we kind of mentioned it before, like I said that they did Fargo and um, Raising Arizona before Big Lebowski, and they did a movie called Blood Simple, and I think I watched that. A while back. I mean, like a long time ago. And it's a darker movie too, kind of like No Country for Old Men. And then a lot of people rave about Miller's Crossing. Um, there's a gangster movie about the Prohibition. I don't know.
Oh, sweet, really?
Hmm.
Oh, wow. Okay, that totally reminds me of my grandfather. He actually was alive during Prohibition. He used to they used to get him and a bunch of kids in the neighborhood to go down and dive at the bottom of the Detroit River to bring up jugs and cartons full of booze.
Dang,
Yep.
man. Yeah, I mean, it's no joke. I mean, the amount of gangsterism that happened in the 20s and early 30s. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah. And
Oh, so
uh,
rampant.
yeah. And there's like that movie about the bootleggers in what was it called with Tom Hardy. Um
Last Man. No, it wasn't Last Man Standing. That's Bruce Willis.
uh
I know what movie you're talking about because it was about Tennessee
yeah,
backcountry moonshiners,
yeah,
and they were running shine up from the north, and it was one of the waypoints. I know the movie.
yeah, it's
It was
really
a
good.
good movie.
Yeah, it's good.
Good movie.
But I mean, for me, like, we can just kind of transition and talk a little bit about No Country for Old Men since we both liked it. I mean, the uh, I mean, it's crazy because I mean, you go from like a comedy, crime type of movie to a vastly more serious, dark drama, uh, crime movie again in No Country for Old Men, and you have it. It was based on a Cormac McCarthy novel, which some people think that the novel was better than the movie. I'm
Hmm.
I'm of the opinion that I think the movie does a pretty good job of. There's differences in it in the story a little bit, but I think it's one of those examples of where the movie actually makes, in some ways, I mean, Anton Chagrin, the Javier Bardem character, the guy that goes around with that. What is that like thing that cow thing that kills cows, right, or something, right? It's
Oh, it was like that CO2 tank
Mhm.
propelled thing, and it
Yeah,
shot. It shot like a bolt.
yeah. I mean, it's
It
just
was
wild stuff. I mean, at the time, it was just, it's like, yeah, I don't know, like the guy Javier, that actor that played Anton, is just very distinct looking. He's just a weird looking dude. Um,
hmm
and you have Tommy Lee Jones, you have Josh Brolin playing Llewellyn, kind of the protagonist. You have a side cameo by Woody Harrelson, who I love, and that was even one of my Telegram names, Carson Wells.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. I got something a little bit crazy about Woody Harrelson.
yeah.
You know, his dad was a CIA agent.
I had heard that. Do you know much about that? I mean, what's the deal with that? I heard that he killed somebody or something.
Yep.
Yeah,
Our good old. Speaking of the right wing, our good old mascot Alex Jones
yeah.
was riffed on that. He was like, well, obviously with Project Mockingbird being kind of at the center of stuff.
Hmm.
Woody Harrelson, he went on the riff where Woody Harrelson was as also a double agent. He was a double agent for both the CIA and I guess what was left of the KGB.
Yeah.
and Woody Harrelson's dad trained him to be in like the entertainment business and be an actor and play like those kind of roles to where
Like
like you would.
Cheers, like like that was his main thing in the beginning, like being a bartender, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, settle down, Alex. I'm like, yeah, he's an actor.
Yeah, Woody Harrelson, like he was. I think. I mean, Woody Harrelson's a great actor. Really, I really love the show HBO show True Detective season 1 with him and Matthew McConaughey. They play well together in that show. I did an episode on that. And but in this movie, he's kind of underplayed in a lot of ways. But it's like in the movie, I mean, you basically have what I like about it is that you have this guy Llewellyn who is by all accounts like seemingly like a fairly regular guy, but it's in Texas and he he's a hunter. He make reference to that he had been in Vietnam, Nam. He'd been in Nam.
Again, I see a theme carry over.
And there's just like this great part where he comes home to his trailer and his girlfriend or wife, Carla Jean, is she's there like on the couch or whatever, and he walks in and he has the satchel that he got from where he picked up from. He came across like this obvious like drug deal gone bad, and there's a bag full of money, and he comes home with it, because he had seen the aftermath of it and got the bag of money, and he walks in and she's like, what you got there? And he's like, yeah, where'd you get that satchel? And he's like, I got it at the Getting Place. And he's like a normal guy, like in a sense, like, I mean, obviously he can carry himself and take care of himself better than most people. But that's what I like about the movie. It's like he tries, to do the best he can do in the situation that he's in. And, it's believable in the sense that, he clearly, can handle himself, but it's like he's up against this, terror and this character, Anton. And it's like, I thought they did a really good job of just making it fairly realistic. Because there's just any number of things that he does from one point to the next to try to get away from him. And, and Anton's on his trail, and Woody Harrelson has that scene with them where he's basically like, look, you can just come to me and we'll take care of this, and, Llewellyn basically is like, basically like, no, rejects that offer. But he has like, I don't know, like when there's a scene where he's trying to get away, things are heating up, and he basically tells his girlfriend, I don't know if it's his wife, but whatever she is, living with him, like he's like, go to your mom's, get out of here, basically, handle it stuff. And it's like, what else could he really do, at that point? And so I thought it was, and then of course you have Tommy Lee Jones character, playing this kind of sheriff that's just over it, essentially.
Yeah, because he's just seen so much, and obviously, well, I mean, that whole thing is like, well, not to bring it to context to today, but you can obviously tell that immigration is a huge problem in that town, and
yeah,
there's just constant drugs, guns, violence, all kinds of stuff going on, and like every time, like you can see it, like at Tommy Lee Jones, you can see it on his face that he's just so sick and tired of dealing with it, and yeah, he's done. He wants to retire.
Yeah. And there's some great scenes with Tommy Lee Jones and I guess it's I don't know if it's his uncle, or he was like a retired sheriff. He lives in that like dilapidated place, and he has a bunch of cats, and he goes in there and there's like cat piss everywhere,
Mhm.
and like
Yeah.
like, and he's talking to him, and he's basically like, I'm, I'm just, I'm getting out of it, I'm getting out of the being this sheriff. And the uncle, as this really old man, tells him, about kind of what happened. I don't remember who it was to him, but he was talking about like how these guys came to, I guess it was a relative. I don't know who it was exactly. I can't remember, but he was like talking about how, how it was in the old days, remembering back, I guess, because the movie again is kind of a little vague about the time. Um, I'm assuming it's probably in the 70s, by the
Yeah,
way the
I would
car,
say it
yeah,
seems like early to mid 70s
yeah.
kind of thing.
And it would make sense, like the age that Llewellyn is, played by Josh Brolin, and how what their clothes are like and car and everything, and they don't have phones really, like cell phones, of course, and he was in
Mhm.
Vietnam, he was in Nam, and and I like that a lot about it. It's like it's a super dark movie. I mean, in the
Mhm.
whole, again, going back to like how the Coen brothers usually play with like randomness and chance, they really play it up with Anton's character, because there's that scene in the in the gas station or whatever, that he gets the clerk to flip a coin, and the guy doesn't want to flip a coin because he's like, this guy's weirding me out, basically, like, why does he want me to flip a coin? He's like, and we know as people watching it that it means that he's going to, um if he guesses wrong, he's going to kill him. And he, flips it kind of hesitantly, and he gets it right so he doesn't get killed. But Anton has this kind of disgust on his face about, like, he asks him like how he ended up there. He's like, oh, I married so and so, and then he's like, you married into this, you married,
Yeah.
a gas
Yeah.
station attendant. Um,
Yeah.
and it's like, it's so like ruthless and just brutal about just how it can be. And that's what I really like about Carson Wells' character too, is like he's a competent guy, like a clever guy, but he knows how deadly Anton is, and when Anton is um coming after him and he finds him too, they have that kind of scene where they're just talking in the room, because Anton's in there, and they sit down, and before he kills him, Carson Wells is like, we can go to we can go to the bank and I can get you 20,000.
Mhm.
It's like, it doesn't matter. He still kills him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that was
He's
I
like, go to
remember
hell,
that.
you son of a bitch, basically, because he knows like it's no point in fighting it or reasoning with them or anything.
And I remember we had to watch this movie. I had a college English class. We had to
Oh,
watch this movie, No Country for Old Men, and we had to write about why Llewellyn, the protagonist, and Anton,
mm-hmm.
the antagonist, and how they propelled the story. We had to write about both characters and how they kind of like intermingled with each other, and in a sense on how they didn't intermingle with each other too, because that was interesting. And I distinctly remember comparing Lou Ellen to, and this is gonna sound like I'm to like Lou Ellen. I compared him to, hold on, I'm gonna, to kind of like a Dick Tracy, and then Anton, I compared him to, basically I called him Sauron in a way, because
Yeah,
he's like
he's
he was
death.
on
Yeah.
he was on his trail, but then Llewellyn was like a Dick Tracy, because he figured it out that he was on his trail,
Yeah.
but like Anton was like kind of like looking over him and knowing where he was going to make his next move, but then Llewellyn was two steps ahead of him and knew where he was going to be, and just, I mean, it was just, then that kept the suspense going, because then you were like, oh, what's going to happen, what's going to happen, but in the background that Anton is gonna find him. He's gonna find him because he's been watching over him,
Yeah,
and he knows what he's gonna do.
the suspense element, yeah, definitely is playing hardcore throughout. It just builds and builds and builds. It's
And it's one of the only movies that I can remember that doesn't have any music in it to help the suspense, or to like create that atmospheric kind of drama, to embellish it. It's one of those movies where it's
character driven.
just and it's almost like you're almost in a graveyard. It's like that dead silence,
Yeah.
and it's just so eerie. It's got that hanging, kind of looming, like something's gonna pop out and get you,
Yeah.
but that pop out and get you is a gunshot. It's
Yeah.
it's you bang bang, and then there's that flick of action. But then the other part is too. It's not one of those movies where it's just like just gratuitous violence. You just have just like Fast and Furious stuff go on, and everybody's just like crashing into stuff, and just bang bang bang. It's not all. It's just it's bang bang bang, and then it's done, and then you got to wait for that to happen again. And that was just like, I was like, man, that just, it just didn't feel like a 2 hour movie. It just kept you hanging on.
And what was great is that, like you said, with the interplay between those two characters, is that how they're kind of stalking each other. It's like the
Hmm.
hunted is becoming the hunted. I mean, the hunter is becoming the hunted, and vice versa in a lot of ways. And you have, like, when they do encounter each other in that hotel, and I believe he's in Mexico.
Hmm.
He, he Llewellyn even like pays the clerk to like kind of call him if someone checks for him, and that turns out to not really matter or help. Then that clerk ends up being killed anyway, I think. And he has everything set up. He's in his room. He has his sawed off shotgun, right? Uh, Waiting, ready, and the encounter happens, and there's still chaos ensues. And there's a point where on the street where it looks like Llewellyn gets the better of him. He's shooting under the car, and he does.
Hmm.
He hits, he tags. You don't see it, but you see afterwards that Javier's character Anton has to deal with it, and they both get wounded. And Llewellyn, like, kind of, he's like so bloodied up and messed up. He like has to like go across the border, come back at the border, and he doesn't have any ID or anything. And he puts the money, he just doesn't, he like chuck it across the bridge or something, I think. And then when he goes across the border, like he has a beer or something, and there's some college kids that come across to like party, this type of thing. And he like is like, can I get that jacket from you? I'll give you $100. And I think the guy says 200 or something, like fucking asshole,
Yeah.
and he does it. And then he, basically wobbles across the freaking, immigration services. And with Anton, they have this whole elaborate thing where he goes to the drugstore and he plants a bomb to create a distraction, and he goes in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
he goes in and takes the like painkillers and antiseptic and bandages and all that shit. And he gets back to his hotel room and he puts like a tarp down and he tries to like sterilize the tweezers and stuff and picks the damn shotgun shells out of
Well,
his.
and the other thing with like Anton's character is, like, he's a killer,
Mhm.
but he's also like, well, there's that part about him too. Like, he's a sinister killer, but there's that tension with him that you don't, when it comes to like this kind of movie, and like crime and like violence and stuff.
Mhm.
There's not that whole, like, from his perspective. It's always from the antagonist or the protagonist perspective, trying to hunt the killer, trying to find them. It's always like that kind of thing, where,
Yeah.
I mean, this one was just like from both, and it's just like, yeah, it's just like, and the scenes in this movie chronologically makes sense.
Yeah.
So that helps.
Yeah.
But it's like one of those things where it's like it and in a way it's disorienting too, because it's like you don't know what to expect, but at the same time it plays with your mind. I mean, it screws with you because it disorients you too from what is going to happen next. And that was just like, man,
Yeah, because you're
then it,
also you're thinking about whether or not the sheriff, Tom Bell, I think is his character's name by Tommy Lee Jones, or Ed, Tom Bell, you're like wondering, right? Like, is he going to catch up to things? Is he going to help Llewellyn out? Is he going to be able to? Is Llewellyn going to accept his help?
mhm,
And, in the middle of it or whatever, you're kind of like, well, Llewellyn's not going to accept his help, but maybe, Tommy Lee Jones' character will be able to intercede in some way. And he pretty much kind of does towards the end, but it doesn't work out for anyone.
mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, and that was kind of like it kind of ended like a Greek tragedy. It was
yeah,
just
it was horrible, man.
done.
And it's like, and then you think, okay, I can accept that Llewellyn doesn't live. And I don't think you see how he comes to his demise. Like they show it
No.
as an after effect. It's like a flash forward, flashback, whatever. Towards the end of the movie, like there was a shootout, right? I guess, and he obviously dies. But it wasn't Anton that killed him, right? It was the Mexican cartel,
Mhm.
I think.
Cuz he had the money.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you can never get away with the fucking money, guys. So, like, if you want to get the money, it's like you get the money, you get your girl, and you get out. That's all you can do.
Mhm.
Those are the people you don't hear about. It's like, okay, they go off to Bora Bora or something, like who knows, or Burma, or I don't know, somewhere where the Mexican cartel has no reach. But other than
Yeah.
that, you're not getting away, man.
Yeah.
Um, and so with No Country for Old Men, like the thing is, like, the Coen brothers make this story where it's super suspenseful, and it builds, like you're saying, like you said, and the tension is just so tense the whole time, pretty much in the beginning through the end. And then it's like I like it because, like, you think, I mean, I thought the first time I saw it, like, I was like, maybe Llewellyn's gonna win, yeah,
Mhm.
make
You wanted them to win.
you wanted him to win. And you also are like, it's like they do it in a way that is not corny or the good guys always win or something. So it's kind of cool like that. But then no, the Coen brothers come on and smash your dreams. Like, that ain't gonna
Yeah.
happen in their film. And then, but they also do it. They do one more, is that they make so Carla Jean ends up dying horribly too.
Mhm.
Like, didn't she just have the funeral for her mom or something?
Mhm.
It's like, this movie is so,
Well, they found her. They found her and then they killed her.
yeah. Well,
I
it's like,
mean, the whole freaking cartel.
and then, like, Anton gets in like a random car accident at the end. Again, like
Mhm.
this kind of randomness where, okay, the bad guy, antagonist, hitman is gonna, he basically wins, but then he gets in this random car accident where he gets T-boned,
Mhm.
and some kids come out to see if he's okay or whatever. And I think I don't remember exactly, but I think it's pretty much he's bleeding and like he probably isn't going to live, but who knows, um,
Yeah.
type thing. Like, and that's when I think it really ends with, you know, Tommy Lee Jones talking to his wife, and his wife is like, okay, you're retired and everything, but you're going to have to do something, because sitting around here drinking coffee ain't going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, or whatever. I mean, she doesn't say it like that, but you know what I mean? Like, she's conveying in this kind of dialogue with him that, she has her day, like she does her things and horses and whatever. And, you're in the country, but like, you're going to have some structure and do something with the rest of your life too. And he's kind of just taking it all in. And It's a lot. But yeah, I mean, like the other thing I was going to mention is I don't know if you've seen. It's not a Coen Brothers movie, but in a lot of ways, not in a lot of ways. In some ways, it reminds me of one. In a way, it's called. It's by that director Denis Villeneuve. I can't pronounce his name. The guy that
Oh, Villanueva.
Villeneuve, he's
He's
gonna do Dune,
Dune.
but like he did
Yes.
this movie Prisoners with Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal. I don't know if you've seen it, where Hugh Jackman's kid gets taken,
Hmm.
but it's like I definitely recommend it if you haven't seen it. It's just this interplay between and this tension and the suspense of a father, and it's like not like the Liam Neeson movies Taken.
Oh yeah.
It's not that
Okay.
ridiculous. It's like way better done, and it's about you losing your kid and what you'll do to find your kid. What ends would you go to? And Jake Gyllenhaal's character is like the detective trying to piece it together, and the father, played by Hugh Jackman, is just not having it. He's not going to just sit on the sidelines.
Hmm.
And so that is a really good crime suspense movie as well.
Okay.
But yeah, so is there anything else that you thought would be? So you have see the thing is you haven't seen Fargo, and it's
I
funny.
know.
They have a show that was Fargo, and I tapped out like the third season, but the first two are really interesting too. It's like, so if you go down that rabbit hole of watching Fargo, the movie, and you like it, I suggest to listeners and the first couple not episodes but seasons of Fargo are cool because each season it's like an anthology. So
Okay.
yeah, and it's not really it doesn't really have anything to do with the characters that were in that movie, but it's called Fargo because it's very reminiscent of the type of story that's in Fargo.
Hmm.
So you have like the cops trying to figure out a murder, and like chaos ensues basically from there. Um, but yeah, man, I think this is good, man. Is there anything you'd like to say to close out?
Well, I mean, well, as far as the Star Wars goes, we can we can leave that on tap. But I mean, speaking of Dennis Villeneuve,
Yeah, let's talk about that for a little bit.
I am so pumped. I am so pumped for the Dune movies. I am just like, I saw the trailer and my jaw dropped. I was just like, this is gonna be outstanding. Like, cause just the aesthetics
Yeah.
of the trailer just blew me away because it's not like it's not a typical
Well,
and
did you like? Sorry to cut you off. Did you see Sicario or Arrival or Blade Runner 2049?
I did see Blade Runner 2049.
So he did that one. So it's like
Okay.
all those movies are great, man. Prisoners, the one I talked about, they're all like pretty different. Like Prisoners is different than Sicario. Sicario is about Mexican cartel hitman, and Blade Runner 2049 definitely shows that he can do the sci-fi.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, the original Blade Runner is obviously, I mean, that's a classic. Like
Yeah.
the hands down, it's both a cult classic and like if you're into the sci-fi genre at all, I mean, that's got it. You got to watch that. I mean,
Did
it's
you
definitely one of those things
did you
where
read
oh,
the Dune series? Did you read the first one? Did you read? Yeah.
one are Dune
Yeah.
and then Dune Messiah.
Yeah.
Uh kind of. I mean, obviously. Well, Atreides. I comes. It's funny because Atreides and I'm Greek, so Atreides comes from the Greek word for like justice and peace, and then Harkonnen is it's more so like I guess Finnish, Scandinavian, Norwegian, and or Germanic in a sense too, and that means like it means like dark or like darker foreboding. It's kind of like that. And it's funny because I didn't really get into like the books in a sense, but Frank Herbert was kind of like J.R.R. Tolkien in a way, but he was like more that for like he was more like that for like sci-fi, and his legendarium is obviously extensive as well. I mean, the Dune universe is so ridiculous. I
Yeah, I've
mean, it's
heard
just
that it gets crazier and
it's
crazier as each book goes
oh
on. Like basically, like the third book goes off the rails or something. Apparently,
it is insane. And like how they came up with all the God Emperor Trump memes.
yeah, yeah.
God Emperor. God Emperor is so Paul, the main protagonist of Dune, that's his son, and his son becomes is named after is so his son is named after Paul's dad, Duke Leto, and then he becomes Leto the second. But Leto the second becomes merged with, so there's this planet called Arrakis with a spice, and Paul basically is, I don't want to compare him to Jesus. He's kind of Jesus, he's kind of Satan. He's kind of like both in a
Well,
sense.
it kind of reminds me of the Force in Star Wars.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But it's more, the spice is more so because the force isn't really like something tangible. The
Yeah,
spice is something tangible.
yeah,
So I guess in a sense it's like what drives obviously the whole Dune universe. But then what's weird about it is that do Leto the second becomes man and God and a sandworm. Like it's like what? What? Okay, all right. This and lives for like I don't know 30,000 years or something crazy. 30, 40,000 years, and it's just like, how, how do you cover that much time? Like
yeah. It'll be
in a
interesting.
story.
It'll be interesting to see what comes out because it got pushed back. It was supposed to come out. I think it was supposed to come out last year, and because of COVID pandemic and all that pushed it. I think it has a tentative release date in October, so that'll be
Yeah. Yep.
awesome. I mean, yeah, it's like it's so. I think it would be cool to do Dune as. I mean, I think they did do Dune, didn't they, as a TV show, or they tried to? And
I watched it. It was 4 hours of just it was awful.
okay,
God, it was bad. Um
yeah,
but
yeah. I mean, it's like, but now with the computer effects and digital imaging and all that, like, it would be cool. I mean, it's under definitely competent, capable director's hands, so I'm hopeful. Yeah, every time I talk about it with somebody, they're kind of they don't want to get their hopes up too much, but it's like, come on, man. It's like apparently Blade Runner 2049 is fairly polarizing. Some people don't like it.
okay.
Most people like it though. I mean, I liked it. It is what it is. I mean, it's like, it's a continuation of that, and it's of Blade Runner. It's not really trying to remake it, the original. So it's,
I thought Villanueva did the original justice. I thought he definitely paid homage to it,
mhm.
but it was kind of like the other, what's the other one? So Judge Dredd, not with Sylvester Stallone, Judge Dredd with Carl Urban. That movie was like, I was like, okay, finally they take something from like a comic book and make it what it is, because that was what Dredd was supposed to be, that gritty, just awful, just brutal. That movie was just brutal. And it was one of those things where I'm just like, finally they get a character right. Finally they embody some kind of like spirit from like print to film. Like it's I mean,
Did you like
I
the Dark Knight trilogy?
I loved the middle movie.
Yeah.
The first one, I was kind of like, okay. I mean, I get it, Batman, you're a ninja, but like it's kind of like, it's
Yeah.
cool, I guess.
You are into the origin.
Yeah, again. It's like how many origin freaking movies can we make? Like they've they've gone in. I mean, they've gone in like jerked off the Spider-Man and Batman series so many times, and then the Hulk, the two Hulk movies, the one with Eric Bana and the other one with Edward Norton Jr.
Yeah.
I thought Eric Bana was a good Bruce Banner.
Yeah.
He was definitely like straight out of like Henry Cavill. Like he put like you can see the character. Like you can see how he just pops out from the comic book. Like Henry Cavill, oh yeah, I put glasses on him. He's all day. He's the all-American Clark Kent. Kind of the same thing with Eric Bana. Eric Bana, make him look like Bruce Banner all day. He's Bruce Banner, not Lou Ferrigno. But but the funny part about that is that it was like it was so different because yeah, even those the early superhero movies had the more typical character archetypes, and it was funny because it's like nowadays they want to try and be so woke about it that I'm kind of shocked that what they're gonna do with June, and they picked that one kid. What's his name? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
But they picked a kid, and I'm like sweet. So they're taking Paul and they're making him believable. Like they're making him believe. He's not that one guy who played in the 1984 movie who was a freaking grown man. And Paul's supposed to be 16 in the book and grow into his role as
yeah, the character that's playing Paul is Timothy Chalamet. He's actually really good in The King. I did a podcast on that movie, The King, which is about Henry V and the Battle of Agincourt.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's really good. It's one of the few Netflix movies that are worth checking out.
Oh dang! Okay.
Yeah, man.
But I'm like,
yeah.
But I'm just like, finally, they're picking somebody.
Well, it's like they also got that guy Oscar Isaac to play Duke Leto.
Oh yeah,
and he.
Oh yeah.
Did you ever see Ex Machina?
No.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend Ex Machina. It came out a while ago. It's about like artificial life and creating like an android type of robot thing that becomes sentient.
Okay.
And yeah, it's called Ex Machina. It's really good. And Oscar Isaac, that actor that's in this new Dune movie as Leto, he's in the Ex Machina movie. He's like the billionaire, tech genius guy that creates this android that's basically, intelligent life essentially. And you're going to figure out, if you can, it's like the Turing test, like how do you figure out if something is sentient or not? And it plays with that a lot, which is interesting. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody. Yeah, and I guess I'm looking at it right now. Like, Jason Momoa is going to be in it too. He's cool, man.
He plays. Okay, hold on. I got to pull it up now.
Duncan.
Duncan. Okay.
I don't even.
Gurney Halleck is the weapon specialist. And Gurney Halleck back in the old Dune movie was played by the Patrick Stewart, which was hilarious because I'm like, how does this guy do all this? How does he just do it? He just pops up and he's everywhere. Timothy Stewart is just everywhere. He is the English version of Slash.
Well, they have $165 million budget, so I mean, hopefully, with that, it makes it good. I mean, yeah, there's so much anticipation. I feel like it's like, for me, it was like when I watched, when Prometheus finally came out, and the kind of Alien franchise where I thought the first Alien and the second Aliens were great movies, with Ridley Scott and James Cameron doing those two, and then it kind of became kind of stupid with Aliens 3 and 4. David Lynch did 3. I mean, it was 3 was okay, and it's just kind of a lot of things just fall off track at that point. But Prometheus was like this huge buildup for fans, nerds that liked the Alien franchise, and I thought it was. In hindsight, I thought it was done pretty well. It's like, but that's what I'm afraid of Dune. It's like expectations are so high that it's like, and then you have this delay and all that, pushing it more than a year back, essentially from what it initially was going to be released. Yeah, who knows, like how people are going to respond to it. And then you also have the whole, are movie theaters even going to be open? I don't know about where you're at. It's like, are any movie theaters open where you're at?
I haven't even heard.
Yeah.
I mean, we were at 25% back in, February.
Mm-hmm.
So now 50% coming up in April, I think.
What do you mean 50%?
The facilities
can
only be 25%.
Yeah, a lot of I think Regal theaters shuttered all their arenas.
Oh wow!
Just like half the movie theater industry is like AMC and Regal. That's it.
Yeah.
But like I know that I go to the last movie. I think during the pandemic, I went to there's a drive-in movie theater that's not far from where I'm at, like old school, where you drive up to it, and they were able to do business because you're not in an enclosed place. You're just in your car, and they don't have like R-rated films, but they have, there's some good films that aren't R-rated, and it's geared towards families and kids and stuff. So it's fun, but they have, like, I went and saw I've seen a number of movies at this place, and they had, like, I remember, like, they'll do like double features. So, and you end up spending less than you would, going to a normal AMC, Regal, whatever the ticket price is nowadays, like what is it, like $15 ticket or something? I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, that sounds great. Well, I think that, like I said before we started recording, like, I think it would be cool for us to come back and talk about the original Star Wars trilogy, talk about The New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and the whole Star Wars mythos. So that sounds good to me. It was good talking to you, JP. And where can people find you? I know that you have a YouTube channel, right?
I do have one of those.
Mm-hmm.
It's my real name.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
Yep.
Good luck.
Yep. I don't care.
Yeah. You talk about theology in your channel, right?
I do a lot of church fathers.
Yeah. So it's a church history channel. Do you talk about other things on the channel, or?
I got some politics and philosophy. Well, more so philosophy and religion. Kind of politics kind of ties into that, but I'm not trying to boomer anybody or non-boomer anybody. I don't know what the rest of it's called. But
yeah, you're talking about the higher things, theology and philosophy.
Yep.
Cool.
And it's James, and then it's Peers, Peers.
Nice. So guys, check out his channel, especially if you're into early church fathers and early church history. And with that, this is Rusty with JP and Vignettes. Good night.